All right, folks, welcome in. This is JE Live, and we have a special JE Live emergency press conference, as Dave Portnoy would say. Roger McCreary is headed to Los Angeles. The Rams have acquired him. In exchange, they're getting a 6th-round pick, and they're giving up a 5th-round pick. So, love this move. I'm going to explain why, but I really like being aggressive. I think... you go back to the year they go to the Super Bowl in 2018. It was right around the bye week. Actually, it was the bye week after beating the Packers. They go out, they get a pass rusher in Dante Fowler Jr. Of course, he ends up making a huge play in the NFC Championship game, hits Drew Brees' hand while he's throwing, creates the interception, and seals the deal for the LA Rams to go to the Super Bowl. And then, of course, in 2021, we can't forget about Von Miller. When the Rams, typically speaking, when the Rams make a trade, it works out. Now, Roger McCreary, to be fair, isn't a Pro Bowl All-Pro guy. But this is the type of trade that I've been saying, if they're going to make one, this is what they're going to do. They're not going to go and get Sauce Gardner. They're not going to go and do something that you could do in Madden. This is not a team that is F them picks anymore. Say what you will, the Rams were never going to remove one of their first-round picks this year to go out and get one of those corners. They don't need to. Ahkello Witherspoon will be back for the second half of the season. Now, I don't know how much of the second half of the season he's going to miss, but he will be back. And I think the most important thing is you'll have him to match up with some of the bigger-bodied receivers come playoff time. We're talking about A.J. Brown, right? We're talking about guys like Drake London. We're talking about, obviously, Mike Evans. If his season isn't over, they're ready to go in the playoffs. You could see Mike Evans. These are the type of big bodies that were in the Super Bowl. Michael Pittman Jr., right? So having Ahkello Witherspoon against those big-bodied corners is going to help. But Roger McCreary has inside-outside versatility. Now, recently, he has moved to strictly a slot corner. I am very interested to see what the Rams view him as, because what could very well end up being the case is that they liked his tape when they went back and watched him on the outside. Now, you might not know this, but Roger McCreary did start on the outside. He actually has 662 corner snaps, outside corner snaps in his rookie year. He then had 218 in his second year, then went down to 10, and then just 3 this year. So the question remains, because one thing I want to point out is that Roger McCreary gave up 7 touchdowns his rookie year while playing on the outside. Then he didn't give up a touchdown in his second year, his best year, by the way. His best year was a year where he had more inside-outside versatility. He played 218 on the outside, 585 on the inside, in the slot. And he also played 120 in the box. He's an interesting player because I think that physicality that he brings is very similar and in the same vein of what the Rams normally are looking for in their corners. Scrappy. He's just under 6 feet. He's a $190. I think that there was a legit opportunity to go out and get Chidobe Awuzie before this week. For those of you who don't know, because the context is needed, I can tell you I did some talking to different people that I trust. And I'll tell you right now, the Rams were interested in Cam Taylor-Britt, who I've brought up on this channel multiple times. So I like Cam Taylor-Britt. That would have been a great pickup as well. Both are in a contract year, so keep this in mind. McCreary's not under contract after this year. This is a rental, and we'll see. Maybe they bring him on after the season. They did the same thing with Dante Fowler Jr., right? They brought him back on a 1-year deal after the Super Bowl season. So McCreary can play in the slot or he can play on the outside. He hasn't played on the outside really much at all since 2023. But here's the interesting thing. Les Snead knows his Auburn Tigers. Roger McCreary is from Auburn. He knows this guy well. Former second-round pick in 2022. McCreary is not from this regime. This makes all the sense in the world. We don't even know what the Titans are going to be. Currently, their ownership has no idea what they're doing. They fired Vrabel. This is one of Vrabel's guys. I actually really like this because I think it's important. I know a lot of people look at it and say the Rams need to go out and get this guy, and they need to get a number one corner. Well, you can't get what's not available. And there's no number one corner available. So I agree with this. I agreed with going after Cam Taylor-Britt. What you're trying to do is you're trying to bolster your roster. See, Dante Fowler Jr. was a need. He was a need in 2018. The Rams had a need at pass rush. You could argue Von Miller was a need. I would still push back and say Von Miller was a luxury. It's what happens when you're so close. You haven't quite won the Super Bowl yet, but you're so damn close, and you know that this guy is going to get you over the hump. You might have won it without Von Miller, but you knew getting Von Miller, you were likely going to win it. What this move does is it gives you flexibility in the secondary. Think about this. How did the Rams start the season? Just think about it. The Rams started the season with Akella Witherspoon and Emmanuel Forbes Jr. starting on the outside. Quentin Lake has been the star, aka slot, whatever you want to call him. He's been in the slot. We know that. But those two were starting on the outside. After a few series, Kobe Durant and Darius Williams came in. Sean McVay said they have 4 starting corners, and they have been rotating them. Make no mistake about it. So now, if you want to have that 4-man rotation until Akello comes back, or maybe even want to go 5-man rotation, you can. And on top of that, you can give Quentin Lakes a breather, or you can move him out to safety on certain plays where he's not in the slot. And this is probably one of the better slot corners in football. I mean, I think Roger McCreary is a very, very good player. I mean, say what you will. I think he's a very good player. And I think his physicality is going to fit well in the, in my opinion, in the zone, the match zone opportunities that the Rams are going to give him. Now, what I find interesting is the way he was used this past week against the Colts. He actually came off and blitzed and had a sack on Daniel Jones. He's another chess piece in my mind because I think Chris Shula can get creative sending him, and he has been getting creative. I mean, we saw Quentin Lake, with the sack, the blitz. We've seen it. Jalen McCullough, he's been blitzing DBs. This is one of those guys that you can put in as an extra DB and send him. So I really like this move. I think this is a crafty move. He's 25. I understand he's only he's in his contract year, so that doesn't really mean a whole lot right now, but the inside-outside versatility is there. And I think while he hasn't played on the outside in a little bit, I think the Rams might use him on the outside a little bit. I'm not saying, he'll be exclusively an outside corner, but I think this really does help out. It's a very low-risk move. It's a pick swap, so it's not like the Rams are giving up a pick and not getting anything in return. I think the value is great, but I think the aggressive physical play style just aligns with what the Rams are looking for. And so, I think this is going to be really good depth. I think this is, again, you shouldn't just look at the trade deadline as a way for you to go out and get a star. You shouldn't just look at a trade deadline as a way for you to go out and, upgrade your starters. Trade deadline should also be used as a way to acquire depth. And this is, to me, is just kind of putting the finishing touches on this roster. This roster is almost complete. Now they feel like it is with the addition of Roger McCreary. And look, this team, barring some crazy thing that we don't see coming, this team is likely to be 6-2 going into the trade deadline on November 4th on Tuesday. With that said, at 5-2, they decide to make this move. It makes a lot of sense. It just does. So, I think really what I would say is when you look at Roger McCreary, he's likely going to have a bit of a passive role early on. They're going to get him in tune with the playbook and all of that. And And then, we'll see what ends up happening. I mean, can he carve out a role? Can he get snaps ahead of Forbes? Can he get snaps ahead of Durant? It's certainly possible. So, I think, moving forward, I think this is only going to make the Rams a better team. And that's all you can ask for. I was looking at guys like Arden Key, not necessarily guys like Jalen Phillips, not necessarily guys like Will McDonald, because if they were to go after somebody, I just feel like they're going to go after somebody to be more of a depth piece. This is a new Rams team. I'm not saying that the Rams, are done trading. I mean, they could absolutely make another trade. But this, to me, is one of those moves that you do where you're putting the finishing touches on something. So, again, I really do applaud them for doing this. And by the way, he's a good tackler. Okay, this guy, he can tackle. So I really like that move as well for that reason. So, we'll see what ends up coming of this and what his role is going to be. But he's a pretty good tackler for being a 5'11", $190 defensive back. So yeah, we'll find out. He's had 83 defensive stops in his career. And this year, I think really, especially being in the slot, it's harder to be kind of a shutdown guy. So he's given up 24 out of 28 targets for 250 yards. And it hasn't been his best year, but also think about this. The Titans are a wreck. They're going to be picking in the top 5 this year. It's just not great. So, that's what I'll say there. But anyway, is McCreary formidable for our rooms? Isai, appreciate the 2 there. I think so. I mean, I think McCreary, if I'm being honest with you right now, McCreary is probably the second best corner in that room with Akello out. Like, I think he's right behind Darius Williams. I think he's better than Kobe Durant, personally. Durant is he's better on the outside, but I don't know. I think I like McCreary. I do. I'm not saying he wouldn't have been my number one option. Like I said, Cam Taylor-Britt was, I like the length there. I think I like more of the big play ability, but yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at on that one. Appreciate the super. And then Alex, first and foremost, the most important thing was what's his Madden rating? And second, whose roster spot is he taking, do you think? Oh, yeah, this is Trey Brown Central. Trey Brown is probably going on the practice squad. He will be cut probably for Roger McCreary, I would imagine, because he's in kind of the similar vein, but he's just a way better player, in my opinion. But then the Madden rating, I guess we'll just look it up because why not? I know you're kidding, but I'm actually curious. Not that I even play Madden, but was it Madden 26 now? Is that what it is? He has a 78. So he's probably like an 82, but because Madden just underrates everybody to all hell. So we'll say Roger McCreary, they're getting an 82 overall. How about that? And he's about the same in press, zone, and man. So yeah, he's versatile. That's going to help. It just gives another chess piece for Chris Shula. And I think that's a big deal. So, we shall see. I mean, are there other moves coming? I don't think so, but I wouldn't be surprised if they made another move because they didn't really give up a lot to get McCreary to begin with. I think, again, the pick swap, I like the pick swap because, I like the pick swap because it's not bad. Like, it's finally not a bad pick swap. How many times have I complained about the Les Snead special pick swap? Whether they'll trade away like Robert Woods or Ernest Jones and they'll get a pick swap, the year I turned 32. I just turned 30. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like that, but I like this. And they had to get creative too, because keep in mind, I like Ty Hamilton. But you guys, if you remember, if you watched the draft coverage, I said, look, I have an issue giving up a 4th rounder for Ty Hamilton because that 4th rounder in 2026 is valuable at the trade deadline. A 4th rounder is like the happy medium. You can acquire most players with a 4th rounder. But when you give that up, now there's not really anything there. It's why the Rams ultimately had to go with a pick swap here because they didn't have. See, a fourth rounder probably gets this deal done straight up. Maybe it's a little rich, but now they have to get creative as where, okay, we'll give up a fifth and the sixth and all that. So yes, I'm not saying they're done, but I feel pretty good about this. So yeah. And there'll be people that laugh about it and say, you're blowing Roger McCreary up like he's something special. And I'm not saying that Roger McCreary is the greatest thing since sliced bread, but what I am saying is that for a team that I believe is the best team in the NFL, they got better today. And there's no reason you can sit here and tell me they didn't. And there's no reason you can find any negativity about that. Because if you're, bent out of shape over giving up a fifth round pick, when you're actually getting a sixth rounder in return, I mean, I don't know what to really tell you at that point. So, plus, it doesn't matter what pick the Rams have on day 3. If we've learned, the Rams are going to make the most out of day 3 picks. I mean, you look at Puka Nacua, you look at, Konate Mumfield, you look at Jordan Fuller, you look at, Sebastian Joseph Day. I mean, those are just guys off the top of my head that I know that they've had good success with, and Jordan Whittington, and the list goes on. So I'm not worried about what they gave up. I like that they got this deal done. I like that they did something. That's a good sign. It shows that they're really invested in this roster. But they didn't do something just to do something. This guy provides value, and he gives Chris Shula multiple pieces to work with. And I see my buddy here in the live stream. All right, I just saw him. Now I'm trying to highlight his. Oh, there we go. Last Second Sports, my guy Jesse. You can find us over on Roundtable tomorrow night. Great trade for the Rams. Steal, says the top 49er creator out there. So, and my good friend. Yeah, I mean, I think so too. I don't think it's a lot to give up. I understand he's in a contract year. I get that, but this team's trying to win the Super Bowl. And I always stress this. You are not having to use the deadline to go out and get stars. You don't have to do it that way. I know we see it in the NBA. I know we've seen the Rams do it, but I actually feel like this move is very similar as a baseball fan myself. And I know a lot of Dodger fans out there can attest to this. At the deadline, my Yankees, your Dodgers, and whoever else that you like, contenders make trades to improve they have the final touch-ups on the roster. This is a final touch-up trade, okay? That's what this is. This is a final touch-up trade. This is essentially going out and getting that last bullpen piece to help you win a World Series. That's what this is. Now, is McCreary capable of starting? Yes. So it's a little bit more than that, but he doesn't have to. He is going to provide depth, but he's also going to provide an option where now Chris Shula can use him in different sub packages, and you can blitz him, and you can play him on the inside, you can play him on the outside. Again, I understand he struggled on the outside his rookie year, but his best year was his second year in the league. That was his best year, where he played both. I think this is one of those, you want to go back and find somebody that's similar to him. And he played at Auburn too. Blake Countess. He reminds me of Blake Countess. I think he's honestly more talented, I would say. But I think he's very similar to Blake Countess. He's going to give you some different looks. He could play some free safety. He can, you can throw him in the box. Countess was a good tackling DB. So is McCreary. And this has always been the thing that the Rams typically like in corners, is that they want those kind of shorter, scrappier corners, and that's what Roger McCreary is. Although I wouldn't call him short. I mean, he's almost 6 feet, so. And we got Rams slid back 10-ish spots to pick up a starting caliber corner. How can anyone hate on this? I agree. But, Jesse, it's not your first day on the internet. Somebody will hate on this. It's just the way it is. And like I said, they had interest in Cam Taylor-Britt as well. I think Cam Taylor-Britt is going to reunite with Lou Anarumo in Indy, and that'll be a really good fit. But now, again, it's not a common thing to see cornerbacks and see like a rotation, but keep in mind how they started this season. Akello, Forbes, then they rotated to Kobe and Darius, and then they rotated back to Akello and Forbes. They want to do the rotation. This gives them an opportunity to do the rotation. Yeah, the Titans fans are pissed because he's a fan favorite. They like him. I've seen people say he's a diet version of Kenny Moore, and I can kind of see what they're talking about. Kenny Moore is way more of a big-time player as far as the ball hawking ability, but McCreary, he can break up the pass, okay? He can help you in the run. He's going to help this team. He's not just a throwaway pickup. They're gonna use this player. So, yeah, I really like the I like the move a lot. I just like the idea of investing. When you believe in what you have, why wouldn't you invest? Like, I remember them going out and getting Dante Fowler Jr., and I was in LA when they did this. I remember it like it was yesterday. They had just won. Ty Montgomery fumbled the kickoff. Rams sit on it. They win the game against Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. The next day, I'm at Sony Entertainment Studios, or Sony Picture Studios, whatever the hell it's called. I'm there with my friend and my father, and we're doing our tour, and I get a text and says, Rams just got Fowler. And I'm thinking to myself, man, that is exactly what they needed. And Fowler was huge and was integral for them getting to the postseason and just having the dominance they had, because I'm not saying he was a superstar, but Dante Fowler Jr. needed a change of scenery and just thrived in that role. And I think so often we think that a guy like Roger McCreary, who, again, starting caliber player, but we look at him and he's not like a super big name, right? And so we just see him as what he's been with the Titans. Well, how many times have you seen a player that has gone to another location and is blown up? And I say it, would not be surprised if he ends up being really good with the Rams. And I would not be surprised if they brought him back. And again, Les Snead knows a thing or two about his Auburn Tigers. I'm going to say that over and over again. He knows them well. This is probably a guy that they had looked at. Maybe they considered going after him in the offseason, and now they don't have to. Now they can just go out and get him now. Maybe he doesn't leave the Rams and they come to a deal before the season starts. Keep in mind, they now have a lot of corners that are not going to be under contract next year. Pretty much only Darius Williams and Emmanuel Forbes are under contract next year. So they're going to have to make some decisions. And this, again, goes back to my point that my report essentially that I had, that the Rams were trying to get Cheetah Awuzie with Akello Witherspoon. And when they tried to get Cheetah Awuzie, who ironically was with the Titans, they tried to get him. He chose the Ravens. Now, it's like I said, I think they could have gone after him. But here's the deal. The Ravens won yesterday. Lamar Jackson's going to be back, and I believe they're going to win on a short week and get their third win of the year and start turning things around gradually. That's a pretty winnable schedule. The Ravens can sneak into the playoffs. This season's not over. They have a lot of talent. So I don't believe that they are going to sell because of that. Had they lost yesterday to the Bears? Yes, I think they absolutely could have been sellers. Winning yesterday and the way they won tells me a lot. And it also tells me that a guy like Cheetah Awuzie that can be useful in that corner room, they're not going to just give up on. So I felt like that was out the door. Cam Taylor-Britt, not sure what the asking price was there. I know the Rams had interest, but they decided to go with McCreary. And again, I think it goes back to their interest in the offseason, really interested in getting Cheetah Awuzie. So coming into this year, they felt really good about their corners, but it felt like they wanted another one. And that was kind of my vibe. And that's why I thought, CTB could be an option. And it's why I did start looking at corners. Again, my biggest issue, like when people were talking about the Rams going out and getting corners, they were mentioning guys like Sauce Gardner. They were mentioning, these star, corners. I didn't think the Rams were like, oh man, we need a star. They like what they have. They do. Why not add on to it? And McCreary's likely going to be taking the place of Trey Brown, who, you know, again, nothing against Trey Brown, but like he wasn't a part of this roster until Akello got hurt. Like he was just added on. He was a free agent. So they're replacing a guy who didn't make the initial 53 with somebody who is a borderline starter. So there you go. What's up, A-Dog? Appreciate the 2. Jake, should the Rams go after Jackson Powers Johnson? Is that who you're talking about? I don't really think so because, well, here's the deal. I don't necessarily feel like the Raiders are going to trade him. I mean, maybe they will, but also who are you cutting from the roster to make room for him? And then in addition to that, like how different is he than Bo Limmer? Because in my mind, Jackson Powers Johnson hasn't had a better career than Bo Limmer to this point. Let's not forget, Bo Limmer's been frustrating. What I will tell you is Bo Limmer also started 15 games for the Rams his rookie year as a 7th round pick or 6th round pick. So I'm not like super high on him at the moment, but I just think this guy is a bigger name and was drafted higher. And so people think he's automatically better. I don't think there's that much of a difference between him and Bo Limmer. If they were going to go out and get another player, do you know who I would go out and get? And it's not that I'm not high on Corum, but I would go out and get Breece Hall. Because I think Breece Hall in tandem with Kyron Williams, there's a level of explosion there, but there's also consistency. Breece Hall can pass protect, Breece Hall can pass catch, and Breece Hall can hit the home run. If I were to go out and get another player at the deadline, it would be Breece Hall. And I would probably consider going after Arden Key to help my pass rush. That's probably what I would do. Something like that. But I'm fine. If this is it, I'm fine. This is good. I didn't need a lot. I told you this team's winning the Super Bowl. As long as they get a decent bill of health, this team wins the Super Bowl. So it's not like I was saying they're Roger McCreary away from a Super Bowl or they have to go out and get Breece Hall. But I feel like Breece Hall and Kyron Williams would complement each other so well. And I feel like that would be a great fit. That's just my take on that. But Matthew, thank you for the super here. This is why I follow you, Jake. Football and Rams fan for a long time. I just don't have time to know all this info on multitudes of players. I trust your judgment and you grade it good or bad. Yeah, I appreciate that, Matthew. As far as a trade grade here, I'm going to give this one a A-. You're going out, and I mean, obviously, if this was Cam Taylor-Britt for the same value, I'd probably give it an A+ because I'm just higher on Cam Taylor-Britt. But A- because you go out and you get a potential starter for a pick swap this year. So you lose a 5th rounder, but you get another 6th rounder. Like, it's okay. So I like this. I like this a lot. I didn't want to just say A+ because that's a little ridiculous. But A- I think is a really good grade for the trade. So, I think my personal feeling is that they don't make another trade. And this is it. And that's okay. But we'll see. Things happen. Currently, here's Chach. What's up, man? Thank you for the 2. Hey, Jake, how are you doing? So done with my Cowboys. Every week, Chach, it's back and forth, back and forth. I feel your pain. I actually had them to win that game against the Broncos. Not really sure how that game came to be, but yeah. Was pulling for you guys, actually. Yeah. It is what it is, but appreciate the super. Deontay Smith, thank you for the super. Breece would be a rental, right? We couldn't afford to keep him past this year, given the Williams extension. Yeah, so Breece would be a rental, but I'd be okay with it. And maybe, who knows? Maybe he wouldn't be. I mean, like, maybe they could find a way. I don't know. Maybe they could tag him, whatever. But point being is, I would be doing it just to get him on the roster right now. So that's what I would say there. But Deontay, appreciate that. And then Catalyst, really like the pickup for y'all. If he plays in the slot like he did in Tennessee, how will that affect Quentin Lake, who also plays nickel? So that's a great question. I think what we saw this past week, and I mean, I know it got out of hand. It got, became a little bit of a blowout. Or this past week, last week. Time flies when you're having fun, I guess. We're out of the bye week, guys, so thank God. I did not enjoy that. Well, I won't say I didn't enjoy it, but I'm just glad to see Rams football again. So, interestingly enough, we saw Josh Wallace get 19 snaps on Sunday, last Sunday against the Jaguars. So, Josh Wallace could be kind of losing that opportunity, and they like him a lot. They're very high on him long term, but McCreary could take over the Josh Wallace snaps there. Right. And again, you can use McCreary in different ways. You can blitz him. You can use him as kind of like a Swiss Army knife. He's a good player. So the versatility is there for Chris Shula. So I don't focus too much on just the slot, but I'll tell you right now, the way Quentin Lake is playing, they're not trying to take him out of the slot. They're not. So yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see how they want to do it. There are a lot of different ways. Quentin Lake, for those of you who are wondering, played 62 snaps in the slot, played 1 on the outside, played 10 in the box, played 3 at free safety in the last game against the Jaguars. Jalen McCullough had 10 in the slot. So again, do those snaps get picked up? Like, does Jalen McCullough, just stay as a box guy? And I mean, that's the thing. So there will be snaps for Roger McCreary. Obviously, they wouldn't have traded for him if there weren't going to be any snaps. Like I said, they don't do anything just for the hell of it. There's a reason for it. So if you're wondering, on the year, the Rams have, let's see here. The Rams have 357 slot snaps that have been played by Quentin Lake. 54 by Cameron Curl, 46 by Jalen McCullough. Cameron Kinchins has played 19 of them. Kobe Durant has played 2. Forbes has played 1. And it actually looks like Josh Wallace played free safety. So never mind what I said earlier. That's interesting. Now, I can't imagine a guy who's played 357 snaps in the slot and Quentin Lake is just going to all of a sudden not play in the slot anymore. So again, I think this is more of a rotation thing. This is a matchups thing. This is a sub-package thing. I've said it, this team has a lot of depth. Well, we're about to see even more of it. That's the crazy thing. This team is all about depth, and they just added a really good player for all of that. Garrett, thank you for the super here. Love this trade a lot. If they make another move, I'd like to see them add an edge, not a star like Bradley Chubb, but someone who offers more than Hampton. That's fair. Definitely fair. I like Hampton. I think also they kind of look at Desjuan Johnson, like if they really needed, if they really needed another edge defender, Desjuan Johnson. So he's been a healthy scratch, but they did use him against the Eagles, and he's been playing on the edge a little bit more, so there is that. But yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think they got a lot of depth here. Now, let's talk about the different teams, because if this isn't over and the Rams are interested in making another move, what teams could be in play to sell? Now, when you're looking, the Saints are 1-7. Off the top of my head, Alvin Kamara could be available, although he said he'd retire if he was traded away. I don't believe that for a second. Sorry. If Alvin Kamara was traded to the Rams, he wouldn't retire. Alontae Taylor is out of the question. The Rams aren't getting 2 corners, right? I don't think so. So Alontae Taylor's out of the question. Chris Olave is not getting traded from the sound of it. Then you have Rashid Shaheed. I don't think the Rams should look at wide receiver. The Rams showed you against the Jaguars, they have plenty of depth at wide receiver. They don't need to go out and get somebody like that. They don't. So who else, right? Chase Young. Rams don't need Chase Young. So there really isn't anybody now with the Saints, aside from Kamara, that I could even see the Rams having any logical interest in. The Titans, they just made a deal with McCreary. Do they make another deal? I don't really think anybody's there to make a deal for. I've seen Chig Okonkwo being thrown out. I don't understand the Rams' need for a tight end. That's what I don't get. I see it all the time. I have no idea what people are talking about. I actually saw in the comment section someone finally put it out there. I did not make a video on it. I'm not really going to address it much, but I will tell you right now, they are not getting TJ Hawkinson. That doesn't even make sense for the Rams. Giving up a third rounder means that the Rams wouldn't have a pick. They'd have 2 in the first, they'd have a second, and then they wouldn't pick until the 6th round. That doesn't make any sense. They don't need TJ Hawkinson. I like Hawkinson. He also isn't the same player. He's clearly banged up, and he's kind of lost a step as well. He's not the same player. So they're not getting Hawkinson. That's something somebody made up. The Vikings also have no reason to sell right now. They're 3-4. So the Saints are sellers. The Titans are sellers. The Jets. Now, they're not getting Sauce Gardner. Michael Carter doesn't make any sense because they just got a corner anyway, and he also is similar to Roger McCreary, but he doesn't have outside ability. Will McDonald, who I loved in the draft, as you guys know, out of Iowa State. That's who I wanted. I'd love him, but with the emergence of Byron Young, the ascension of Byron Young, he's emerged. Now he's ascended. He's becoming a star. You have Jared Verse, like Josiah Stewart, the way he's playing. I don't see the Rams going top tier, top shelf edge defender. You know, I could see them adding another guy in a contract year, maybe, you know, like a rotational guy, again, like an Arden Key. But I don't see them adding a Will McDonald. I don't see them adding a JJ3. I just don't see that. So, you know, as far as the Jets are concerned, I don't really think anybody's there for a trade. Then you have the Giants at 2-6. I don't think they're going to be sellers. I think they've been too competitive in those games. I don't think that team wants to sell. I think they're looking at, like, right now, you look at the Commanders at 3-4, and you're like, well, we're not that far away. You know, the Eagles, yeah, okay, fine. But I don't think the Giants want to sell. I could be wrong, but I don't think they want to sell. The Dolphins, I don't think the Rams should go after a wide receiver. I think, it'll cost way too much to go out and get Jalen Waddle, and I don't see how that makes any sense for them. There's one name that I would take from the Dolphins. Now, I would absolutely be interested in Jalen Phillips, but again, it's not a need, and that would be like a lot to give up just to go out and get a third pass rusher. Unless you plan on running that cheetah package all the time with Phillips and Young and Verse, which would be absolutely disgusting. If you don't plan on doing that, there's no point. Then the corners, no point. Rasul Douglas could have been an option. They decided to go after McCreary, so that's out. There's really no reason to trade with the Dolphins except for one player. And this one player I actually really like, and I think he could be of use because he's not really being used. And that's Jalen Wright. Now, Jalen Wright, and by the way, going back to the Jets, Breece Hall would be an option for me as well. But Jalen Wright is a speed back, 4'3", talented, explosive, but they have Devon Achane and Ollie Gordon. So he's not really getting the opportunity. Plus, he dealt with injury early on in his career. Jalen Wright would make sense because right now, like, you look at Jarquez Hunter and they clearly don't trust him to start. They clearly don't trust him to even get a carry. We're going into week 9. And he doesn't have a carry yet in the regular season. Jalen Wright is a player that I think is clearly good enough to be in this league and contribute. How many times have you seen talented running backs who just never did anything? They go to one team and all of a sudden it just pops off. How many times have you seen a randomly talented running back just pop off? I can tell you right now, the first name you should be thinking of is Rico Dowdle. There are all sorts of those guys all around this league. I mean, I'm telling you, they're everywhere. This is a position that has a lot of talent around the league that, I mean, I'm sure Jarquez Hunter could play and look good. But going out and getting Jalen Wright, I think, would make a lot of sense. He'd be wicked cheap. Dolphins aren't going anywhere. They 100% should be selling. I know they beat down the Falcons. I don't think the Falcons are good. I just don't. So, yeah. Then you have the Browns at 2-6. That team can't score. They got a great defense. That defense could bring them to the playoffs, but they can't score. They've only given up 184 points, but they've only scored 126. So, that said, the Browns, who would be an option? They got a bunch of running backs. Jerome Ford, maybe. Wide receiver. I don't think they should trade for a wide receiver. Tight end, maybe Njoku, but I don't think they should trade for a tight end. They trade away an offensive tackle in KT Leveston. Who would you get? See, the Browns? No. Cardinals are a division team? No. The Ravens aren't trading. They just won. The Raiders. Who would you get from the Raiders? See, that's why this is a good move. The Rams don't have needs anymore. They got another corner. They're good. Now it's touch-ups, as it should be. It's exactly why I compared the NFL trade deadline to the MLB trade deadline. If you're a contender like the Rams are, fix your bullpen. Go out and get a McCreary. You don't have to go and trade for a superstar. Just because people have grown accustomed to that doesn't mean that you should. And like this right here, I don't see how this makes the Rams better. See, again, going back to my point about Jackson Powers Johnson, I just think he's a big name. He's like, he's just not, I don't think he's good. That's the thing. And so how is he any different than Bo Limmer? You know what I mean? Like, how is he any different than, he's not even getting on the field. Like, they're playing him at guard, and he's only played 5 games. So Jackson Powers Johnson has given up, let's see here. He's given up 31 pressures in 2 years and 4 sacks. Now, that might not sound that bad, right? But the problem is 31 pressures in the last 2 years, that's not great considering he's not starting all of those games. Coleman Shelton has given up 37 pressures. He's also started all of the games. I don't think Coleman Shelton is a star, but I think he's better than people give him credit for. Jackson Powers Johnson, and this is important, guys. This is the difference. He's given up fewer pressures than Coleman Shelton. But the difference here is Coleman Shelton has played 453 snaps, has given up 11 pressures and only 1 sack. Okay? Jackson Powers Johnson, oh, by the way, only and 2 penalties. Jackson Powers Johnson has played 269 snaps, has given up 2 sacks, 8 pressures, and has 3 penalties. So that's the problem. Is that really, like, I don't think that he's terrible, but I don't think, like, he's the good. I think he's just okay. He's okay, but he was drafted in the 2nd round in 2024. So I think people are just trying to say, like, yeah, he makes a lot. I'm not even against going out and getting him, but I just don't see where he's going to come in and just help this team. This team's trying to win a Super Bowl. This feels like just kind of a trade acquisition and stash option, But I want to give you guys a lot of credit because we have over 800 people in here, and we're talking about Roger McCreary. So nothing against Roger McCreary, but we got over 800 people in here, and we're talking about a guy who might not start right away at corner. He's not a superstar, right? Like, I give you guys props. It's cool. Trade deadline season is here. It's upon us. It is upon us. Now, is this the last move for the Rams? That I don't know for sure. But I feel like my biggest thing is that I just want to see the Rams put more investment into this roster. Show me that I'm not crazy for thinking this is a Super Bowl team. And by them making this move tells me that, yes, they do believe that they are. Without a doubt. Because you don't make this move if you don't view yourself as something. You don't. And the years they've stood pat, they haven't won. They haven't gone to the Super Bowl. And both years that they, traded, during both Super Bowl years they traded at the deadline. They got Von Miller and Dante Fowler Jr. And now they got Roger McCreary. Quintana 310, appreciate you for becoming a member. Wanted to give you a shout out. And then Isai is saying, how about a Trey Tucker trade? Talented player. But this is my thing. Wide receiver, okay? Devontae Adams is still under contract after the season. Puka Nacua is still under contract after the season. Jordan Whittington. Kanate Mumfield. I don't think they need to get another receiver. Oh, also Xavier Smith. I don't think they need to get another receiver. If they were going to get another receiver, say I had to get another receiver and I'm the Rams, do you know who I would go and get? He's a perfect fit for the offense. Perfect fit. I would get Jacoby Myers. If I had to, gun to my head, I had to get a receiver, I would get Jacoby Myers. Jacoby Myers doesn't want to be on the Raiders. He requested a trade. He hasn't backed down from that, right? Myers last year was a 1,000-yard receiver with the Raiders. He had 800 yards the year prior, 800 yards the year before that, 800 yards the year before that. He has been a consistent player in this league that really nobody talks about. If I had to get any receiver, realistically, that has been attached to being traded, Jacoby Myers, without a doubt. 6'2", $193, good blocker, plays well on the outside. Good 50-50 ball guy, good route runner, natural hands catcher, all that. He moves the chains. It would be a really good fit. So, yeah, that's who I would go after. Trey Tucker, I just think is too similar to a Tutu Atwell. So I don't really see that. I mean, I like the player a lot, but you have the right team, but I would go after Myers. Miguel, thank you for the 5. Appreciate you. And Terrence, thank you for the 5. Jake, you talk about adding another running back. What's going on with Jarquez Hunter? It's a great question. I'm not saying I would 100% add a running back. I think Breece Hall would be the best option if they went running back. My feeling is this. Jarquez Hunter doesn't quite have a hold of the playbook. And in all likelihood, they really are high on him. But they do so many things and they expect so many things out of anybody that's going to be on the field that they need Jarquez to be fully ready to go, and they just don't feel that. So that's kind of where I stand on that. I think Hunter is going to have a good career, but I understand why they're not rushing him. And they don't have to. I mean, that's not the reason why they lost 2 games. It's not like the run game has been bad. So that's kind of where I'm at. No, I don't think Limmer was ever bad. I think Limmer has looked bad recently. Bo Limmer has been horrendous this year in limited opportunities, right? He just didn't look very good. But Bo Limmer in 2024 had 27 pressures he gave up, 2 sacks. He had a 97.4 efficiency rating. Biggest issue with Limmer has always been the penalties. 10 penalties his first year, okay? But mind you, this guy played 1,000 snaps. He played 1,040 snaps in 2024. His rookie year, this 6th-round pick, he played over 1,000 snaps. So give him his props. I mean, that's my thing. I understand being frustrated with Limmer. I get it. I've been frustrated with him. But understand how important he was his rookie year, how he just filled in a huge role. I know we're going to bring up the divisional round game. I know we're going to bring up the Eagles game this year. But I think he's been way better than anything you could have expected out of a 6th-round kind of throwaway pick. And I'm not saying he was a throwaway pick. I liked the pick when they made it. But, yeah. I think right now it could be a mental thing where, I mean, the fan base kind of turned on him. The coaching staff kind of turned on him. But, hey, you know, it's not like he's complaining and whatnot. We'll see what ends up happening. I mean, it could be his job to win next year. I wouldn't give up on this guy. I would not give up on 24-year-old Bo Limmer, who just showed you on the fly, hey, you can throw me in the fire. I'm going to play 1,000 snaps in my rookie year and have a 97.4 efficiency rating. Okay. I don't think you can do that. So again, back to the whole Jackson Powers Johnson thing. I'm not saying he's a bad player, but is he better than Bo Limmer? Maybe. And if I'm saying maybe, is it worth actually giving up assets for when I already have him and he's just not a 2nd-round pick? That's kind of what I'm getting at. LA Canuck, thank you for the 10. Back from London, the experience was great. Wembley was awesome. That's awesome. I love that you went to London. Lots of Jags fans, really respectful. The Brits love NFL. They like it also for being able to bring families to the game. Let's go Rams, Carl. Carl, appreciate you. No, that's really cool. You know, I feel like, you know, they've had 11. I think that was their 12th game there. And I feel like now London is kind of established. I mean, obviously they're fans of every team, but I feel like London has established that as like a Jaguars kind of like home game. And I saw the Rams represented for sure, but I think it's cool that the Jaguars are kind of benefiting from they're seeing the fruits of their labor going out there playing 12 games overseas, and now they're starting to be kind of viewed as like London's team. So I think that's kind of cool, you know. But you said it, not me. Yeah, guys, be sure to hit the thumbs up button, also known as the like button. It really does help out. And of course, if you don't, YouTube just assumes that you watched all this to hate watch and you didn't actually enjoy it. Don't ask me why. I don't know. I don't agree with everything YouTube does. I'm appreciative of YouTube in a lot of different ways, but sometimes they do things that I just don't quite understand, to say the least. So, yeah, I think going into this week, by the way, we'll do a quick, I want it to be like a separate video. I still want to keep doing that series and everything. But to do like a quick idea, you know, of who the Saints are, by the way, the Rams are getting the Saints at the best time. The Saints have gone from they were really competitive to now it's, well, you see essentially like Tyler Shuck got in. Spencer Rattler hasn't been playing well. Like he looked way more like he was playing way more inspired football before. They haven't been able to get the ground game going at all. Alvin Kamara has been fumbling. Their wide receiver room, I mean, really is just, they're probably going to trade Raheed Shaheed. It's not great aside from that. Like, guys aren't really creating separation. They lost, you know, what's his name? I'm totally blanking on his name now. They lost their backup running back. They lost the guy behind Alvin Kamara. So they lost him. So now they're down to Devin Neal. I'm very high on Devin Neal. So obviously the Kansas banner in the background kind of gives it away. But yeah, they're down to Devin Neal. And I don't know why. I almost said it too. Can't remember his name now. Damn it. Mitchell? I can't remember his name. TCU. Kendre Miller. Thank you. Good Lord. I don't know why I couldn't remember. The good news for the Saints is that Chase Young is balling out. He's back. He's getting sack after sack after sack. I think he's got 5 in 2 games. Justin Reed's still a really good player. Kool-Aid McKinstry's developing. Demario Davis is still Demario Davis. Danny Stutzman was a good pickup, in the draft. Carl Granderson's a good player. Alontae Taylor, they'll probably be able to get something for. Pete Werner's a solid player. Sanker, the draft pick, the safety, he's good. Brissy is good. They have talent. Cam Jordan, right? It's right now this offense isn't just able to really do much because they can't run the football and their quarterback situation. And so I look at this Saints team right now, and the real big thing about the Saints, and this is why it was the best time for the Rams to get them, is that their offensive line issues. So the Saints, I don't know if you guys knew this, but they have one of the best offensive linemen in all football, Eric McCoy. Well, McCoy got hurt. McCoy had given up 3 pressures all year at center, and he got hurt. And Fortner played well, but that is a huge loss. So they lose Eric McCoy. Now they're not in the best spot. So I think the Rams, they can roll in this one. I'm expecting like 30-13, to be honest with you. So they can absolutely roll in this one. And then after they do that, it's Rams 49ers rematch. And by the way, the Rams had a really good bye week. They had a bye. They acquired Roger McCreary. And on top of that, the Falcons lost, which made their pick 11th, which, by the way, if the Bengals didn't blow that game against the Jets, the Rams would have a top 10 pick right now. They're 11th instead. So the Falcons got absolutely decimated by the Dolphins, which is wild to even think about. So that was great. And then the 49ers lost to the Houston Texans. So say what you will, but I get what you're saying. But smoked is wild. They were a fumble at the 1 yard line, a touchdown essentially, not fumbling at the 1 yard, away from losing, and they still almost lost in overtime. They did not smoke the Rams. It was frustrating, but they didn't smoke them for sure. Zaylor Swift, thank you for the 5. Not a superstar, but I'll take it. Would like a veteran wide receiver over Tutu, maybe get another playmaker. I just would like to see Tutu get utilized correctly. Because, I think he was probably banged up and didn't have to be used in this past Jaguars game, but this should be a game where he gets utilized. I definitely want to see more 13 personnel. I agree with you, Nolan. Terrence, thank you for the 5. Also, what about using more 13 personnel like we did? Well, more 13 personnel. Thank you, Terrence. Like we did against Jacksonville. I love the way the tight end showed up. Yeah, that's the problem. So Puka being back probably means less 13 personnel. But 13 personnel, I think, is such a smart thing to do because you have 4 tight ends that can start in this league. Like, I agree with you. I want to see more of those bootlegs. That's what I want to see. So, yeah, I definitely agree with you. Deb, how you doing? Thank you for the 10. Bo did Allen not so last year. I'm not giving up on him. There were plays that cost the Eagles game, but the last play will be one remembered. It's true. That is true. Yeah, I mean, I think it's tough. It sucks. I'll tell you right now. I remember there was a safety, Quincy Williams, I believe his name was, who on the Saints, or Marcus Williams. It was Marcus Williams. Marcus Williams was a very talented player. Utah safety draft, I think, 2nd round. Marcus Williams misses an easy tackle. If he makes this tackle on Stephon Diggs, the Saints are going to advance in the next round of the playoffs. And instead, he whiffs. After that, it doesn't matter how good he was. It doesn't matter how good he was going to be, the fans were out on him. That unfortunately happens in those big moments, those big plays. If you don't step up. So Bo Limmer's going through that, and I hope he's able to recover. I'm not out on him. I understand why people are frustrated with him. I get that, but next year he's got a shot to earn his keep. Vic, thank you for the 2. Who do you think is getting an extension this year? I don't know if we're going to get a midseason extension. I do feel like my guy Quentin Lake will be back. I think he's going to get extended. I don't believe that the Rams normally would pay a safety, but Quentin Lake isn't just a safety. He's a safety. He can play corner. He can play linebacker. I mean, he can really do it all, and he's gotten so much better. I think they get a deal done with Quentin Lake. That's what I think. Now, they might get other guys. I mean, they might sign Puka Nacua next offseason. But I'm saying I think Quentin Lake stays. He feels like somebody the Rams are going to prioritize. So, yeah, that's a great question. Great question, Vic. Andrew, thanks for everything you do for the Ramley, Jake. Appreciate you, Andrew. What about trading for a great young right tackle post-Rob? You know what my plan is? Because I like Warren McClendon, by the way. I like the way he's playing. The tape speaks for itself. I think he's playing very well. I would sign to compete with Warren McClendon Jr. for the job next year. I would sign Jedrick Wills. Wills is a former first-round pick who I wanted the Rams to sign this year. However, he was not able to be signed this year. He was not signing anywhere. He decided to take the year off and rehab a debilitating injury. He wants to come back the following year and pick up where things left off. I thought while the tape was shaky at times at left tackle, I remembered Jedrick Wills was the prospect he was while playing right tackle for Alabama. I think Jedrick Wills versus Warren McClendon Jr. should be a thing next year. I think Wills is talented. I think Wills could end up being one of those guys that we're looking at, like a Mekhi Becton, who everyone gives up on. Everyone remembers when he was drafted in the first round and was like, oh, yeah, he was talented. They move on from. And then you just see him on a contender, Becton with the Eagles. You see him on a contender, and you're like, oh, well, he figured it out. Jedrick Wills is going to be that player, I believe. And I think the Rams should be the ones to sign him. I'd sign him before the end of the season. I'd be like, hey, you sure you don't want to come back? Collect a paycheck. We'll get you on a 2-year deal. That way we have you locked in for next year. You sure? Sure you don't want to win a Super Bowl without having to really do anything? You sure? I'd be signing him right now. That's what I would do. I think Wills can play in this league, and I think the Rams can get the most out of him. And I think he is a right tackle. And as long as they play him there, I think he's got a legit shot to be something. He was drafted in the first round for a reason. There are busts. They happen. But Mekhi Becton was a bust, and he ended up being a big reason why the Eagles were able to go on and win the Super Bowl. He was huge in the run game. He was good in pass pro. He is a lot better than their current right guard, Tyler Steen. I think they miss him to a degree, to be honest with you. I don't think they run the ball nearly as effectively. When you have that giant body at right guard, and then you lose that, I don't think it's as easy to just come back from. So, I mean, that's what I'll say. Right? But yeah, that's a great question. So yeah, it's also harder to trade for offensive linemen. And I say this because, think about it. You trade for a corner. Teams are willing to trade corners. Why are teams willing to trade corners? Teams are willing to trade corners because that is not protecting. That is not a position of protection. An offensive lineman, you could be the worst team in the league, but if you have a young quarterback like Cam Ward, I can't trade you, even though I don't feel like I'm a great team, I can't trade you the guys that are protecting my future asset at quarterback. I have to get through the season. That's why, it's not that easy. So, yeah. All right. So we got that. BYL44, appreciate you. Here's an interesting question, Jake. You think the Rams stick with McClendon at right tackle, or do we go back to Big Rob? Seems like he's been hurt, not himself, and McClendon is playing well. That's a great question. I'm sticking with McClendon, and I think the Rams are as well. Look, make no mistake about it. I'm not trying to toss Rob Havenstein out like he didn't do anything for this franchise. He did. He's the longest tenured Ram. He is the last remaining St. Louis Ram. I remember when they drafted him. I like the pick. That said, Havenstein looks like he's falling off. I don't know for sure because we haven't seen him enough to really justify that, and there's a good chance he's playing banged up like he normally does, it feels like. But what is working? Warren McClendon Jr. What wasn't working? Rob Havenstein. Might seem unfair to view it that simple, but I'm all about getting the best results possible. And if in order to get the best results, I have to just keep it on. I have to just keep doing what I'm doing. I have to keep Warren McClendon Jr. right tackle over Rob Havenstein. Well, I'm very much going to do that. So it's a great question. I actually think the Rams are going to stick by McClendon. They were the ones that were high on him. Look, I was shocked they didn't go with Quesenberry there, because that to me was a perfect fit for him. He's more of a right tackle than a left tackle, and he played well in the preseason. But they chose McClendon, and they've stuck by him, and he looks good there. They've made it a little easier on him because they've had like chip opportunities and stuff like that. It's not like he's always, on an island, but he's played well. You got to give him his props. Zaylor Swift, Hopkins, or even Hollywood Brown. Hopkins is on a team that I don't think is going to give up, and Hollywood Brown is on the Chiefs, who we're not going to trade. They're probably going to add somebody. So, no. I also would probably want neither of them, to be honest with you. Deontay, do you think the Rams will get the 1 seed? I think it's certainly possible. When they lost to the Eagles, it really jeopardized that, because the Eagles, now you need the Eagles to lose 3 and you can only lose 2. Or you need the Eagles to lose 4 and you can only lose 3. Or you need the Eagles to lose 5 and you can lose 4. Because they have the tiebreaker. So it makes it complicated there. But we will see. How do they, how does the rest of this second half go? Seattle has still never beaten Matthew Stafford. Do they finally do that? If they don't, and the Rams sweep them again, right? With Stafford, of course. I know they didn't sweep them last year, even though they probably should have with Jimmy Garoppolo. But if the Rams sweep them, they have the tiebreaker over Seattle, without a doubt. Then you have the 49ers. They beat the 49ers the week after this one. They're in good shape. The big thing is Tampa. The big thing is Detroit. Those are teams they have to beat if they want to get the 1 seed. The Rams are dominating the AFC. They swept it. They didn't just sweep it. They beat all the teams in the division that they were signed to, and then they beat the other team that they were playing, the Ravens. So we'll see. They got a shot. I don't know if they're going to get the 1 seed just because of the loss to the Eagles, but who knows? I will say they're winning the Super Bowl regardless. Do they need the 1 seed? They didn't win the Super Bowl when they didn't go to the Super Bowl in 2018 with the 1 seed, and they didn't win the Super Bowl with the 1 seed in 2021. They actually had the 4 seed. That's the crazy thing. They had the 3 seed, I think, right? It was the Packers, Bucks, Rams. I believe they had the 3 seed. The point being is they didn't have the 1 seed when they won the Super Bowl. They did have it, I believe. So the last time they had the 1 seed, let's see. I got to look this up now because I'm curious. So the Rams had the 1 seed the year they won the Super Bowl at the Greatest Show on Turf. And they had the 1 seed against the New England Patriots. And then they had the let's see here. looks like they did have the 2 seed. I knew the New Orleans Saints had the 1 seed in 2018 because they beat them head to head. They both finished 13-3, but they beat them head to head. And then 2021, the Rams had the 3 seed, I believe. Or did they? No, they had the 4 seed. Dallas won the tiebreaker. How about that? So the Cowboys won the tiebreaker, and they were the 3 seed. Tampa was 2. Green Bay was 1. Now, what's interesting, the Rams would actually be the 6th seed right now at 5-2. The 49ers would be the 7th seed, and the Seahawks, for whatever reason, have the tiebreaker, which I feel like there would be if the season ended today, I feel like that would be like a weird, thing because Seattle's, I don't know, that just seems weird to me that they didn't play each other. But then again, the Packers would have the number 1 seed at 5-1-1 when there are 6-2 teams because a tie is better than a loss, which is weird. But yeah, I think the Rams are likely to get a top 3 seed. But I need to see how it plays out. Do they beat Tampa? Do they beat the Lions? That's what we need to figure out. And, of course, Seattle and the 49ers. Vic, do you believe the Rams would sign BY or Landman long term? I think that they are going to want to sign both of them. I don't know. I know that the Rams have to be careful because there was not that long ago, they signed Tavon Austin, they signed Michael Brockers, they signed Aaron Donald, and they got a little sign happy, and they kind of ran out of room. The Cowboys, we've actually seen that, right? They move on from Micah Parsons, but they're paying all these guys. They paid Trayvon Diggs. They paid, Bland, right? They paid Deron Bland. They paid Dak Prescott. They paid CeeDee Lamb. The league is brutal, but if you pay everybody, it actually penalizes you. I still hate it. Like, I understand why the salary cap is a thing, but I say the biggest concern for the Rams defense is the salary cap because eventually all these guys are going to have to get paid, and it sucks. That's the way the league is, but I still hate it. But yeah, I think they're going to try and keep Landman around for sure. BY isn't a free agent after the season, for what it's worth. You still have another year, I believe. I believe you have another year with Byron Young, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, his rookie deal. So you have another year with Byron Young. Is he going to want to play on that deal? Probably not, but you do have another year with Byron Young, to be fair. So there's not really a rush unless he makes it a rush, which who knows. Would I rather keep Landman, Lake, or BY? I can't even answer that because I want to keep all 3. Here's what I'll say. Landman is awesome. Want him back. But you found him 1 year, $1 million. Zach Bond was found in free agency by the Eagles. They signed him long term. So maybe they do sign Landman long term. BY, he looks great. He's hitting another level. But you found him and you found Jared Verse not long after each other in the draft. You drafted Jared Verse in the first round. You found Byron Young in the third. Now you found another one in Josiah Stewart in the third. Quentin Lake. Who have you found that's Quentin Lake? A 6th rounder that can play any position in the secondary and has become one of the best nickel corners in the league, but can also play safety. Like, that's kind of what I'm getting at, is like, I think I would rather keep Lake, to be honest with you. I think he's more versatile. I think that versatility in the secondary, when I already know I have Josiah Stewart, when I already know that I have Sean Dolak, I don't know. It is a great question. It's just hard to say, but I think I would lean towards Lake because of the versatility. But man, I love all three of them. Okay. So, let's see here. Puka Nacua is expected to return from a sprained ankle to play Sunday against the Saints. Adam Schefter is reporting. Let's see. Okay, so it sounds like Puka Nacua is returning, and Rob Havenstein is returning to practice on Wednesday, and he will play against the Saints. Okay, so we have our answer. Rob Havenstein is going to play at right tackle. Hopefully he looks really good because Warren McClendon Jr., man, that tape looks impressive. I'm not going to lie. So who said in the comment section, am I going crazy, or did I see somebody say that Darius Williams was not playing this week? And where did you see that? Because like I'm looking and I don't see that, but I want to make sure I hit on everything before I log off. I'm just not seeing it. Yeah, I saw the Raiders got Tyler Lockett, but where did you see it on X? Because I'm not seeing it. Oh, okay. Nate Atkins is putting it. Darius Williams suffered a shoulder and lat strain. He spent the bye rehabbing. It's unclear if he can play this week versus Saints. So we could see some Roger McCreary action early. Williams has played at least 60% of the snaps in each game without Ahkello Witherspoon. Yeah, that's a pretty annoying loss. Darius Williams is playing his best ball right now, so that sucks. So Nate Atkins says Ahkello Witherspoon has been active and around the team, including on the trip to London. Nothing has changed in his recovery timeline, but the Rams expect him back. The initial time frame was 12 weeks. We're halfway through. And Roger McCreary's versatility factored in here, which I'm not surprised with. That they like versatility, I'll say that. Sean McVay said the Rams needed some depth in the DB room on the whole, and new cornerback Roger McCreary answers that in a couple of ways. He mentioned letting Quentin Lake wear a bunch of different hats. On McCreary, he can play inside or outside. I like him for his versatility. So there were people that were commenting. So I tweeted out. This is what I tweeted out when this first happened. And then before I went live, I said, Rams acquiring Roger McCreary is a good move. It's finally a pick swap you can be happy about. Worth mentioning, they were interested in Cam Taylor-Britt as well. They opt for the versatile inside-outside McCreary, who is less of a ball hawk, but definitely has the physicality you want. And of course, I had somebody, and it was a Seahawks fan who doesn't follow me, who probably doesn't like me very much, say he doesn't have inside-outside versatility. He only plays slot. When the Titans did play him outside, he was terrible. Well, right from Sean McVay's mouth, he's saying he does have inside-outside. So there you go. It happens. I get it. But I know what I'm talking about. You guys know that, obviously, but there's sometimes people on Twitter that don't. And it's what I think is funny is there are people that don't quite understand that when I'm not making videos, I'm still working. I'm not live streaming, I'm still working. Having to keep up with everything is work in my field. So I just try to stay on top of it. McCreary, somebody I already had notes for because I knew he was one of the guys that they were looking at or they could potentially look at. So that's why I was on it. That's why I wanted to go live as soon as possible. But really bummed about Darius Williams. That sucks. Yeah, I would say let's look at the Kello Witherspoon thing. So if the Rams, he said they're halfway through the timetable. They said 12 weeks, right? So if the Rams are halfway through his timetable, 12 weeks. So this would be, well, okay, you got 2. So week 2, he got hurt. So we're not counting that. So we'll count week 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That puts us at 10 weeks, 13, 14. So based on that, it puts him in position to play against the Cardinals. I actually think he could return sooner, and I wouldn't be shocked if he's back for the Buccaneers game. Man, that would be a game to have him for. But it depends. Depends on how the corner room looks. If the corner room is struggling, then, I mean, I could see them being like, hey, you know, he's almost there. Maybe he'd have to play at 90%. But, yeah. Yeah, Roger McCreary was definitely a fan favorite. I see it all over my feed now. Do not trade him. Do not trade him. I can't believe you traded him. I hate you at Titans. Oh, man, that is funny. But we've all been there. We were there with Jalen Ramsey, too, so I get it. Poor Titans fans, man. Yeah, if Darius Williams isn't going to play, I mean, I really like this trade because, I mean, you get a chance to see him almost right away. So that's good. But before we head on out of here, because we've been on here for a while, I mean, it's hard to leave you guys. You guys have over 700 people in here. It's hard to ever say goodbye, right? I'm bad at it, as you guys know. But before we head on out, special word from Sleeper, which you can get 100% match up to $100 using my code JKB. Get into tonight's action. I'll tell you right now, I really like Isaiah Pacheco tonight. I really like Rashee Rice any night. I think Rashee Rice is probably one of the more valuable wide receivers in daily fantasy, in fantasy football, all of which you can check out over on the Sleeper app. And if you haven't already, definitely be sure to use that $20 free entry. No deposit needed. Definitely be sure to use it. Again, tonight, you got the Commanders Chiefs. Might not be the best game, but if you want to make it somewhat exciting, put some skin in the game, there you go. You can do so over on Sleeper. Darryl A-Dog, thank you for the 2. I believe Roger McCreary is going to play on Sunday. I do. So, there you go. Rams have acquired Roger McCreary from the Titans. 6th round pick in exchange for a 5th round pick. He's likely going to be playing this week, knowing that Darius Williams is likely not going to be playing, dealing with a lat and I believe it said shoulder. So it's going to be Roger McCreary. It's going to be Kobe Durant, Emmanuel Forbes, and maybe Trey Brown gets an opportunity. Maybe it's not Trey Brown and they decide to go with AJ Green. But either way, appreciate you guys hanging out. Enjoy the World Series for those of you that are celebrating it. I'm certainly not, but anyone that thought the Dodgers were going to lose this series after they lost the first game, I did think was kind of funny. But anyway, enjoy the World Series. I'm going to be making some more content throughout the week. We'll do our preview like we normally do with the Saints. We'll have DTR. And yeah, appreciate everybody. And lastly, do me a favor, real quick. Okay. I am now posting on TikTok, like actually committed to posting on TikTok. I know, crazy revelation. So if you haven't already and you do have TikTok, be sure to follow me over there at JK Bogan. It's going to be an extension of what we do here, but maybe some exclusive stuff, maybe some, the vertical live streaming, some hangouts. So please be sure to give me a follow over there. It is hard to bring followers from YouTube to TikTok and TikTok to YouTube, but I'm going to attempt to. So before you head on out of here, be sure to follow me over on TikTok. And appreciate you guys as always for supporting. And also be sure to check out my latest interview with Quentin Lake, who we were just talking about. If you haven't already, that is on my channel. Again, I interviewed Quentin Lake during the bye. And now we turn the page. Rams acquire Roger McCreary. The Rams are off their bye week. Let's get ready for week 9 against the New Orleans Saints. And then on to week 10, I'll be out there for the Rams 49er game. But I'll see you guys soon. You guys take care. And be sure to like, subscribe, comment, and check me out on all social media at JK Bogan. I think I got everything. Yes, I did. I wanted to make sure I didn't miss a super chat. But anyway, appreciate you guys. Check out Sleeper at JKB is the code. Link in the description below. Good Lord. And I'll see you guys next time. Later, folks.